Carolyn Dube here. What's the play for today? Well, today I'm going to be battling some white space. You're actually going to see me add some in, but it's not going to stay that white, but kind of white. But it'll make more sense when you see it. The other thing that I'm doing today is showing you a great big oops that I made. There's some way that I basically didn't take care of a supply correctly. That's code for put the lid on it when you're done. And it all completely dried out. No fault of the manufacturer, it's totally my fault for not putting the lid on it. I think it's pretty clear when a company gives you a lid that comes with a product, they expect you to put it back on it. But it was just an oops, there was an amazing opportunity in it. So enough of my talking, come see this art journal page that I made. Well, here's what I started with, a jelly print that I glued into my art journal. Now there's all sorts of flecks of colors everywhere, so I have lots of possibilities. And what's the first thing I'm gonna do? I'm gonna add white paint. Really? Is this really me? The first thing I'm going to do is cover up some of that color and create white space. Yeah, this is already turning out to be not what I expected, but it's going to be just the perfect place for me to bring in some 3D stamp paint, which is like liquid glitter that I was introduced to by Genstar recently. This stuff is amazing when it comes to shimmer. Well, I've got all these grungy layers of color on this jelly print, so I wanted to kind of stay with that industrial feeling. Yes, this is what's going through my head, so I brought out the magenta glitter paint. Yeah, okay, so it's kind of like I'm making little rivets of glitter here, but the cool part is there's no glitter spilling or messing or getting anywhere. And yep, I'm checking, I'm peeking, trying to decide if I could put a little bit more on there. And yeah, there's always room for a little bit more glitter and shimmer. Well, what I'm going to do is line this up. So I'm just going to put, I've got wet paint everywhere that I have to deal with. I am just going to rest this right on top, keep the stencil lifted because the white paint over there isn't dry. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more there. Well, now I thought I'd given that white enough time to dry, but no, it's still wet. And you know what? I'm just going to work with it wet. It's going to be fine. Worst thing that happens is I make an oops. I've got my verbiage stencil that's from over at Stencil Girl Products, and I'm looking for some words that are calling to me at the moment. And the word sang is really jumping out at me, so I want to make sure that I can read that word in my white space. Well, it's going to be formerly all white space. And I'm just going to bring in more of that stamping paint, and I'm going to just do it just around the circle so it looks like I've actually stenciled, I've masked something off, but I really haven't. All I'm doing is just kind of making sure that I'm using the cosmetic sponge just right around the circle of where the white paint is. And here's what it looks like. Well, now let's talk about my super oops. This is something called Inka Gold, also from Viva, and this is what it's supposed to look like. It's very, very creamy, it's very thick, and then you rub it on, beautiful metallic finish on things. That's what happens when you keep your cap or lid on it for a reasonable amount of time. Here is what mine looks like after I left the cap off of it in the studio, buried under a bunch of papers for an unknown amount of time. It may have actually been weeks. I have no idea how long it was under there. I am so embarrassed to say. But even though this happened, I'm going to call this an oops. Now, when I opened this jar up, it was totally and completely rock hard cake. There was no saving this. So here's what it looks like. So this no longer works for me the way the manufacturer intended. This rock hard, wonderful bit of shimmery orangeness still has a purpose for me. Because what I found is if I grab it and draw with it, it works just like a big, wonderful crayon. So that's what I'm going to use it for here. Here's what you can see it looks like on white paper where you can clearly see. And then I am going to take it to add a little bit of something extra here on my art journal page. Well, thanks to the oops that led to my paint drying out here, I had the opportunity to find a different way to use this supply. And I actually have a lot of other things that I've done this with, and I'm sharing them in 2 of my new videos, DVDs that are out with Northlight, Cloth Paper Scissors, Artist Network TV. Both of them are about breaking the rules, and I'll have a link down below for you so you can go check those out. Well, as I finish putting those orange circles, which are mildly addictive, I have to say, I realized that I am actually going to leave some untouched white space on my art journal page. Yes, indeed, that little bit right there that was from the original jelly print, I'm going to leave that white. And maybe even I can count that white circle still as white space since it's so much brighter than the rest of the page, but I might be pushing the limit there on calling that white space. Well, thanks for joining me for today's video. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and click that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I have a new video out. And if you'd like to know more of what I'm up to, head on over to acolorfuljourney.com and get signed up for my newsletter. There are treats and goodies always waiting for you in my newsletters. Thanks for being a part of this colorful journey.